This is Mark in the Center for Online Learning and Innovation. This video is part of a series where I'm demonstrating different phases of a data gathering project using Qualtrics. Here I'm continuing a demonstration project I started in the last video and will add some features so my questions do a better job of collecting the data I need. Before we get started, here's a few important tips though. There's many more features in Qualtrics than I can show you in this or other videos, so it's worth exploring to find out what you can do. Remember, you can create mock surveys and try them out yourself. Before you use the features I show you here, be sure to experiment with them so you understand exactly how they'll behave in a live survey form. And always pilot your survey by getting other people to enter mock data into your form and provide you feedback on the questions and how the form worked or didn't work. Let's take a look. I can quickly enter text into descriptive text areas or questions in Qualtrics, in part because Qualtrics doesn't automatically put on screen a whole lot of features for formatting text. So I just click the box and I type in the text, done. But what if I do want to format text differently than the default in Qualtrics? That's pretty easy too. So I click on a text block anywhere in questions or descriptive text, and I choose Rich Content Editor. And here I see a whole bunch of features that are fairly familiar to anyone who uses Microsoft Word or Google Docs or any kind of software where you format text. Bold, italic, underline, alignment options, colors, fonts, size. So for this text, I want it to stand out a little bit from the questions below it. So I'm going to make it a little larger. Maybe I'll highlight our office name. And in fact, I want this to be a hyperlink to our office space on the college website. So I will choose link and type in that URL. And in fact, I'm going to come over here to Target and choose New Window. So that way, Qualtrics doesn't navigate to the Kali web space in the same window, which would force a respondent to hit the back button to try to get back to the survey form. It'll open in a separate window, but the survey form will remain open in the previous window. I can also add images to this text box, and in fact, in any text box in any question. So I'll move the cursor down. I'll choose the Insert Graphic button. Qualtrics has different levels of libraries wherein images are stored. I've uploaded 2 images, upload a new graphic, of the campus quad, but at the Canisius College level, there are some logo images already loaded in. So I'll just click this one, and as you see, it's a very, very large image. That's no problem. I just click on it, right-click to get this menu, choose Image Properties, and here's a whole bunch of different options I have for working with this image. In this case, I just want to change the width, and I'll leave this padlock locked so that Qualtrics automatically adjusts the height proportionately. Let's take it down to 150 pixels wide. And you can see it's adjusted the height as well so that this logo is properly proportioned. Click OK, and here it is. And I can move it around and I can use alignment to do some fancier things. So I'll click it and I'll move it up before the text, and then I'll choose Align Right, and that looks nice. Now I can go in reverse when it comes to text formatting. Click on the text, highlight the text, and choose Remove Formatting. This will take any formatting added out and take it back to the default you see in other questions where I've not applied any formatting. Where that's useful is if you are copying text from, for example, a Google Doc or a Microsoft Word document, and it's been formatted either by default or because you added formatting in that document. It will carry that formatting into Qualtrics more or less successfully. But if you want the text that you copied into Qualtrics, you paste it into Qualtrics from another source to match the default formatting that Qualtrics applies to text that you type in natively, you can use that Remove Formatting button to do that. In an earlier video, I told Qualtrics to allow respondents to choose multiple answers to this question. There are other rules, collectively called validation, that I can set for questions. The simplest validation type is simply requiring an answer. By choosing Force Response under Validation Options, I've made it so that my respondents must answer this question in order to submit the survey. I'll activate it for this question as well, and any question where I really do require a response from respondents because the data that these questions collect is essential. This is important also for establishing logic later on if I'm using conditional logic in this survey. In this question, I might like respondents to be able to choose up to 3 or perhaps 4 answer options, but no more than that. If that were the case, I would come under Validation Type here on the right, choose Answers Range, and enter an appropriate number under either At Least or under No More Than. In this particular question, it would be helpful if I could make it so that respondents could choose as many of these as they'd like, unless they choose this first answer option, in which case the rest of these wouldn't make sense. So I'll click on this answer option and choose its own drop-down and choose Make Answer Exclusive. Qualtrics will add a blue X to indicate to me that that's been activated. I can also set validation guidelines on text entry questions. For example, if I wanted for this particular text entry question respondents to only give me numbers in the form of digits, I could choose that under Content Validation, Number. And in fact, I could even set stipulations on how many or how few digits they could answer. Although it's not strictly validation, I can hint to a survey taker how long I would like or would expect a text entry answer to be based on different sizes for the default text box they see when they take the survey. If I click and hold this little handle on the lower right of the text box, I can make it shorter or longer. I can even activate multi-line or essay text box, and then I can drag this handle down further to make this a much larger text box. Let's take a look at a preview. So now this text box, unlike these two, suggests to a survey taker that they might wish to answer at length. Multiple choice questions produce quantitative data and are fairly quick for respondents, but depending on the situation and how they're written, they can oversimplify things. Your respondents may want to answer differently than the answers you supplied. Instead, you can add a text entry question. These are obviously the choice if you expect to read individual entries, such as qualitative feedback or just a respondent's name or email address. Sometimes respondents like these because they get to tell you their answers rather than choose from a limited set of options. But writing essays in response to a survey is a chore, and it prevents you from quickly analyzing the data by counting or averaging. A middle option is letting respondents add their own answer to a multiple choice question. To do that, I'll create another answer option and put in something like Other. From the answer option drop-down, I'll choose Allow Text Entry, and Qualtrics installs a text entry block. And I'll increase the length of this. An Other answer option seems like an obvious win, but I'm better off supplying answer options that people are likely to choose instead, so that respondents don't need to help me write the question as they take the survey. And if I get a lot of other answers, it complicates my analysis of the collected data. Where the answer option is probably most useful is when I pilot the survey before running it to collect real data. Here, my pilot panel might add answer options that I hadn't thought of, but that the real respondents might likely choose. I can then incorporate those answer options into the real survey question before I go live with it. Lastly, removing a question from a survey is quite easy. I simply click the red dot with a white dash icon next to the particular question I want to remove, and it's taken out of the form. Qualtrics does not delete it altogether though. It goes below the survey form in the editor in a special trash or unused questions section. I could click on the question there and I could restore it to the survey if I've changed my mind. This video demonstrated some commonly used question options. Be sure to check out the other videos in this series for more help in building a survey project in Qualtrics.